once again, I speak briefly about votive masses. It's not very common in the Novus Ordo, rarely used. That is, on some days when a feast is not specified, required to be said, a priest has the option of praying another Mass. Rarely is it used in the Novus Ordo. Simply, the previous Sunday's Mass would be used in a daily Mass context. And the same is true in the traditional Mass. Most priests would just say the previous Sunday's Mass. So most priests would say, okay, I'll either say the commemorated feast of the martyrs, probably that would be the first choice, and then if not, they might say the previous Sunday's Mass, the 8th Sunday after Pentecost, in our case. But when I started saying the traditional Mass, I became aware of the wonderful options that I had available to me. I like a little diversity, and these votive Masses are incredibly beautiful, and they seem to just get ignored, not used. I like using votive Masses. Votive Masses, votiva, votive, willed Masses. You could say the priest wills this Mass, not because it's required by the Church, but because he has a choice when there's a 4th class feast, as today, a 4th class. Yesterday, St. Martha, 3rd class. No choice, no real choice there. 2nd class, no choice. 1st class, no choice. 4th class, choices. Votive Masses can be used. So I try to follow the custom of Fulton Sheehan, who is on his way to becoming a saint, although it's getting blocked now by politics. He had the practice of always saying one Marian Mass per week if the schedule allowed for it. Today, the schedule allows for a votive Mass, and since there is no other Marian Mass thus far this week, I decided to say a Marian Mass. So I had a lot of Masses to choose from. Unfortunately, there's in my opinion, a huge problem between your missals and my missal. So many Masses don't match. I have Masses that you don't have. That should not be the case. So when I go to look at the Masses that are at my disposal, that I can choose from, if I want you to be able to follow along, you won't be able to do so because your missal simply left them out. So, scratching my head, I thought, what? I couldn't do better than to say the votive Mass of Our Lady of Guadalupe. She is the patroness of the Americas, and we certainly need her help now more than ever. Well, I'm not going to talk a lot about Our Lady Guadalupe. I'll wait for the feast to do that. But I do want to read and comment on at least the collect and the epistle, just to get some bearings here, just to kind of explain a few things in these two texts of the Mass. We ask that through Our Lady of Guadalupe's patronage, we may receive abundant measure of unceasing favors. We recall that during the time of her apparitions in 1531, she showered down abundant favors in bringing 9 million people to the faith in 10 years. Our Lady of Guadalupe showed herself to be the Queen of the Apostles. She exceeded anything that St. Paul had ever done. She exceeded any single saint and many saints put together in terms of numbers in bringing 9 million people to the Catholic faith in 10 years. That's astounding, miraculous. Looking at the epistle, this epistle is used in many Marian masses. It's still beautiful. She says in the book of Ecclesiasticus, the church uses these verses and applies it to the Virgin Mary. So we hear our mother speak to us in this epistle. Our Lady Guadalupe is speaking to us in these words. So when we hear I, it is the I of our mother. As a vine, I have brought forth a pleasant odor, and my flowers are the fruit of honor and riches. What flowers is she talking about? She's talking about the Castilian roses that she gave to Saint Juan Diego to present to the bishop. Those are the flowers that she prophesied she would bring to Saint Juan Diego. I am the mother of fair love, beautiful love, and of fear, the fear of God, and of knowledge, the knowledge of God, and of holy hope. In me is all grace of the way. In Our Lady are all graces. All graces come through her. all grace of the way to heaven. The way to heaven is provided for by our mother. And of truth. In me is all hope of life and virtue. Come to me and be filled with my fruits. She invites us to honor her, to pray to her, to trust her, to associate ourselves with her. For my spirit is sweet above honey, and my inheritance above honey and the honeycomb. Being in her presence is sweet, like being in a mother's presence. My memory is unto everlasting generations. She will be remembered forever. They that eat me shall yet hunger, and they that drink me shall yet thirst. Meaning there is an infinite source of knowledge and love to be found in her. And once we take part in her delights, we want more and more. He that listens to me, he that listens to their mother, shall not be confused. Those who work with her, those who do things for her, by her, in her, with her, as St. Louis de Montfort encourages us to do, shall not sin. Those who speak about her, those that explain me, have everlasting life. Those who promote devotion to her shall have everlasting life. With that in mind, wishing for myself to have everlasting life, I present her to you at this Mass. And as I am sure you also want everlasting life, you will also present her to others and to promote devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe. In nomine Patris